And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Jim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I'll comment before I ask my question on your statement. You want a clean car, where I got my oil changed this week after owning the car a year. They said anytime you want, bring in your car and we'll wash it for you for free. Now, I want to say you want to keep the customer.
Well, to that end, Jim, I always wanted to put a car wash in my shop, and when I built my own shop in 1975, I wanted to build my own car wash and of course there's a big expense there, but hats off to that establishment, because it truly clean cars, years ago. It's not so prevalent today because cars are made better and the joints and the rubbers and what have you. But I will tell you that years ago, when we had more rattly cars than we do today, I would advise people never to buy a car in the rain, because a car that's wet or just been washed rides better. It does, because all the joints are lubricated, no rattles, and your son works for GM on the assembly line, or did?
You remember well, pal.
Yeah. Hey, what can I do for you today? How you doing?
Okay, I'm doing pretty good. I had my Malibu for 1 year. We didn't drive much because of the extremely bad weather in winter, and which wrecked the roads in Michigan.
Yeah.
We only had 2,408 miles on it. And the only reason then that they would oil change it is because it had not had its first oil change for a year.
Right.
My question, I'm going to try to make it simple so it won't take up any time. They said, now you could go in at the end of winter, but if you don't have 2,000, they really say, why don't you wait it out, because you're running synthetic oil. What can customers do like me we usually keep a car 10 to 15 years. If we're only going to drive low mileage like that, is it going to wreck the car to get an oil change once a year?
Well, that's a great point, and to that end, number one, they mentioned synthetic oil, and yeah, it did come with a 2013 Malibu Dexos, which is a synthetic oil, which that's a good point for all of our listeners to and on Watch Bobby Live, our viewers, to understand that if you're going to run oil longer, then you need to start with an oil that's better to start with. Not that some conventional oils, there are some great conventional oils out there, but when it comes to standing up to heat or standing down to cold, and when I say standing down to cold, I'm talking about an oil's ability to flow when you first fire it up. And for you, that's more important than the hot protection, because you drive so infrequently that your engine has time to sit, and sits a lot, and all the oil, except for a film of oil, drains off the parts. So there are some pieces and components in that vehicle that don't get properly lubricated until after it's running, because its heart doesn't stay running like ours does. It only starts and pumps oil after the engine's already moving. So there's no problem changing the oil, but definitely you want to put it on a birth date, or put it on something that is easy for you to remember, and you can celebrate the oil change and maybe the wash job and what have you. Not that you're going to wash it once a year, but the bottom line, that's a good idea. And to that end, and Jim, you and I, you've been a loyal Car Clinic fan for years. If you remember, I've talked about one of my cars and changing the oil annually because I don't drive it often, and I use a Royal Purple synthetic. Well, lo and behold, this year, Royal Purple has a 1 year, one oil change pledge. So for your information, and they have some more technical, I won't go into the technical, but why don't you go to royalpurple.com and take a look at their 1 year, one oil change pledge, and get the bottom line. And the extended bottom line would be 12,000 miles. I think that's 1 year or 12,000 miles. And then they always, as any aftermarket company would and should, say 1 year, one oil change pledge from Royal Purple, or whatever your manufacturer recommends, because they can't make the rules. Your manufacturer made the car. The irony there, and before I let you go, is the oil change indicator on your Malibu can run 9,000 miles or it can run 22,000 miles and really has nothing to do with what's in the oil. It has to do with algorithms. And, well, I figure that, this is GM. We figure that if you ran the car at such and such a throttle, at such and such a RPM for such and such a speed, then your oil life is used up. I mean, it makes sense overall, but specifically not. So 1 year, one oil change pledged by Royal Purple. And congratulations on the shop that gives you a free wash. I'd love to be able in a position to do that. I just may do that just for grins. Hey, always good to talk with you today, and always thank you for your call.
And happy birthday to your 40-year-old daughter. Ours will be 40 in 2 years.
Well, my daughter Misty will be 40 Monday. Today, my oldest daughter is 41. They're a year and 2 days apart. And I know Tony says don't say that on the air. Hey, what are they going to do? I wish them happy birthday. They're going to shoot me?
Considering you're on your way up there shortly.
Well, that may be. Okay. Hey, Jim, thanks, and appreciate your kind words.
Anytime, pal.
Okay,
Have a good
buddy.
day.
Nice guy. He knows cars too. He lets on like he's calling me for advice, but his son works for GM, and not only on the assembly line, but is one of those assembly line bosses, if you would.